This week we will be learning about Middle Childhood, Chapter 10. Middle childhood stage is between the age of 7 to 12 years old. Erik Erikson's crisis is industry versus inferiority. What this means is that the goal for a child in this age range is to learn how to create a productive situation that supersedes the whimsy of play. In other words, children who would just play because they were having fun and they had no goal of achieving anything during their play except to enjoy it are not really what the 7 to 12-year-old is looking for in their play. What they're more or less looking for is the industry, which is being creative, learning to build, finding out what they're good at. If you know, take note that in this age, a lot of kids like to put together Lego systems, maybe paint by numbers, and different things that in the end they've achieved a result. So the main question for this age group is, what am I good at? This is how children will find out what they're good at when they experiment and they try to do different things that create something. If a child doesn't achieve some level of success in their industrialness, it can result in the child isolating himself. Also, during this stage of development in middle childhood, children begin to develop perceptual cognitive developmental traits. And what these are and what they mean is that they learn the fundamentals of technology. This is where they'll learn to, use computers and be able to create and do things on technology that they couldn't really have done before. They work hard at being responsible, being good, and doing it right. They understand the concepts of time and space. They get a better understanding of cause and effect, and they understand the calendar and the clocks. Children at this age are also eager to learn and accomplish more complex skills like writing, reading, and telling time. They form moral values, which is just an internalization of why things are right and wrong, not just because you tell them. They recognize cultural and individual differences, and they are able to manage most of their personal needs and grooming with minimum assistance. They also express their independence by being disobedient, usually talking back and being rebellious. Children at this age must feel success in something. If the child does not experience success, they begin to feel inferior or incompetent. So as parents' role, it is important to encourage children to find out what they're good at, maybe sign them up for sports, or if they're really strong in a subject at school, to really encourage and support that they're successful in that area. However, on the other hand, too much industry leads to virtuosity. And this means that children act like mini adults. They don't act like children. These are children that, at their very smallest accomplishment, that everything that they do, a parent overly encourages and praises to the point that they think they need to be recognized for doing some of the things that are expected of them. And at that point is when they begin to act like adults, and they don't really act like children anymore. According to Robert Brooks, parents can nurture self-esteem and reliance in these ways. Understand and accept children's learning problems. Highlight the child's strengths, as we referred to in the earlier slide. Encourage them and point out what they're good at and have them strive to be their best in that, and that will build self-esteem. The other thing is to teach children how to solve problems and make decisions. When they come home with problems from school, instead of telling them what they could do, why don't you ask them things like, what do you think you could do? What do you think would help? Get their input and then help them to move through the process of thinking about a solution. Reinforce responsibility by having children contribute. Some children may balk at the idea of chores. However, it does make them feel like they're part of the family, that they help and they contribute, and this can also build self-esteem. Also, help children learn from their mistakes. Rather than feeling defeated, ask them what they can do next time to have a different outcome, and help them see that a mistake is just one step in our learning. And also, the last thing would be make the child feel special. Create special times alone with them each week. Something that they know that they can just share with you and them alone. Next, we will take a look at Jean Piaget, the cognitive developmental approach. And we'll be looking at his theory and how it pertains to middle childhood. We are looking at Jean Piaget's theory of cognitive structures. He believed that this is the way our brains allow us to organize and adapt to our world. As a child grows, their cognition becomes more sophisticated, and each stage represents the child's understanding of reality during this period. We begin with the most concrete of concepts: mom, dad, dog. And as we age, we develop the ability to understand more abstract ideas. Development from one stage to the next is caused by the accumulation of errors in the child's understanding of the environment. This accumulation eventually requires reorganization. What that means is that, for example, when 9/11 occurred, a child at 7 who was aware of the 9/11 and the devastation that came with that would have a different and less understanding of what actually happened than a 12-year-old would. So in other words, they can take in the information and understand it age appropriate. However, as they grew older and they learned more about possibly what 9/11 entailed, then they would reorganize and reformulate their ideas about what happened and have a better and deeper understanding of it. And this can occur with many things. In order for us to better understand Jean Piaget's cognitive developmental stages, they are broken down into 4 categories. The first one is the sensory motor stage, and this occurs from birth to age 2, where children experience the world through 5 senses and they learn object permanency. Object permanency would be, for example, taking a toy. You have a child sitting in a high chair and you take the toy and you hide it behind your back, and they know that and learn that you can bring the toy back out in their visual realm and they can see the toy. And if you put the toy behind your back again or you hide it, they may start looking for it because they realize that although it has disappeared, it can return. And that's what object permanency would be. The next stage would be pre-operational stage. And this is from age 2 to 7, where their motor skills, language, symbols are all being developed. From 2 to 7, motor skills would be jumping and playing and climbing, and they're also learning new words. So that would be the stage in which those things occur. The concrete operational stage is from age 7 to 11. children begin to think logically about concrete events and physical objects. And for example, as we talked about in the previous slide, a concrete event like 9/11. And then there is the formal operational stage. This usually happens after age 11, and it's the development of abstract reasoning, where, again, using the example of 9/11, a 12-year-old will think much deeply about how 9/11 may affect them personally or their family, and they would just realize some of the consequences and have much deeper thoughts and ideas and questions regarding an event like that. So as you can see, as they progress through the stages, they learn more abstract thinking and reasoning abilities will come into play, and you can actually see the developmental stages occurring. We respond to our environment through two methods of adaptation. One is assimilation, where we modify information and we shape it to fit our thinking. The other is accommodation. This is where we change based on the information that we take in. An assimilation example is a child sees a cow for the first time and says, "Doggy." The child fits the strange animal into their existing understanding of doggy. Accommodation, on the other hand, refers to the creation of a new concept. The parent says, "No, that's a cow." The next cow comes along and the child says, "Cow." The doggy concept has been modified and a new concept, cow, has been created. An adult example for the same thing would be a parent believes that homosexuality is evil. Their child, who they love, reveals that he is gay. The assimilating parent holds on to the existing concept, so their child must be evil. The accommodating parent changes the concept. Not all homosexuals are evil. The balance between assimilation and accommodation is what is known as equilibration. Piaget did not view culture as important to his theories of human development.